Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I want to go over exam 2, exam 3, sorry for the summer. Average of the exam was a 73.49 and the median score was a 76, so half people scored above a 76 and half below. This is with all the extra credit applied with my curve that I applied here. So I like to get an average between like a 73 and a 75. That's kind of good for where I think grades break down. I don't like to keep you into suspense about where you're going to be at the end of the semester. I like to say that where we are is where we are, and that you have to earn that grade. I'm not going to budge with my standards about where A, B, and C is. I like to move that throughout the semester so we get to a place where we can feel comfortable where we are. So here's what happens here: 8 A's, 6 B's, 4. Well, I can go to the next one where it gets a little bit better. 6 A's, 8 A's, 6 B's, 4 C's, 7 D's, and 7 F's. Don't fall off at the very end there. I'm not a big fan of that, but some of that is with the summer. The rapid pace of the class, the other classes that you're taking. Thermo is a beast, but I do feel like those that are getting A's and B's are understanding this material very acceptably. I mean, I think they're earning it at an A or B level, and so I'm comfortable with that. The score on Canvas has 7 columns, as you know. Cover page, and then the 4 other pages. So that's 5. There's an extra credit column, and there's a curve column. So all those columns add up to be your exam score. That's going to be the exam score that you're going to be using. You have 1 week from today, which means we'll say basically Friday, the end of class, to request a total exam regrade. If you need to extend it till Monday of next week, I mean, I don't have to turn in grades until Tuesday, so you're okay there. But you need to attach a comment and let me look at it, and email me, and all those good things that we've done all the rest of the semester. And take a breath before you do this, and look at the rubric. Make sure that you think I assessed you fairly, okay? And I'm not gonna work with exam 3 at the end of the semester, which basically means I'm only gonna work with exam 3. The semester's over, so it doesn't really matter. This comment really is not really needed here, but just the same as everything. If it's important for you to at the end of the semester, it's important for you now. So please ask me for the points that you think you deserve right now. That's what I'm trying to say. Don't try to nitpick points later. Try to nitpick points now when we're looking at things. I want to change screens here so I can go into the exam and show it to you, and then we have some other things to talk about. But here's the exam. The first page had a piston cylinder is shown in the figure. The piston is pressing against stops, and then we're reducing pressure by opening a valve. And so the first thing you should notice is this was a transient problem. We're removing R134A, so you should have state 1, state 2, and the exiting state. Some of you didn't recognize that lost a lot of points there, but if you did and you were able to look up all the properties, that was a substantial part of that score there. Then we would do the same method that I taught you time and time again, or we went over in the lecture and practiced again on your homework. You take the mass equation and simplify it, take the energy equation and simplify it, then you combine those two together. Some of you tried to skip steps, and this is where I have to work on things, because some of you are watching lectures that are not my lectures, and some of you are referring to notes that are not my notes, and this is a unique situation that I've had. And you're jumping to equations that I've never seen before, or it's unique because I am going in open book, open note type situation this summer, and it's causing me a little bit of grief. And so I'm trying to figure out what I need to do about this, because I've taught this class for since I've been here at K-State, I've taught it about once or twice every semester, so this is about the 13th time, and I'm seeing equations I've never seen before. And that's because you are reviewing lectures from different sources. And some of that is, I understand that. But if I need to improve my lectures so you watch my lectures, please let me know how I can improve. I know some of them you're using lectures in your home language, and I understand that. And I've kind of come to understanding that that's where some of this variability is coming from. But I thought I was pretty clear on how I wanted you to develop these equations, get it down to here. Now, really the twist in this problem is that you had to calculate the work by understanding it's constant pressure work. About once you release that valve and that the pressure gets to be 500 kilopascals, now there's the constant pressure work happening, and you can calculate that. You can calculate that work. It's going to be a negative value. You should have a negative work. Then you type that into the first law equation, and you're going to get your heat transfer again, which is heat leaving the system. Okay, I thought this should be a little bit more straightforward than it was. It did cause some of you some grief, but it was overall, it was about what I expected. Some of you, though, the amount of work you did on this problem was, like I said, much less than what I expected. Problem 2 is where we had some issues, and this is on me. This is on me. I tried to give you a problem that was probably too challenging for you. You didn't know what to do with it. And so I tried to work that into the grading. I tried to work that into the extra credit by assigning a few more points for it. But basically, when you have a system like this, where you have air in two sides and it's separated by a piston, you have two different airs that you have to worry about. So in your first law, a closed system, you have to deal with air 1 and air 2 when you work through it. And many of you did that when you found your masses. You found the masses separately, but then you didn't apply the internal energy separately, because each of them are going to have a different internal energy change. It's going to be like dropping metal into water. So when we get that taken care of, when we get there, we find out what the internal energy final is, and you can look that up using constant specific heats and find out what that is with temperatures. Some of you did variable specific heats here. Sorry. Some of you did. I want you to do constant. I want you to do variable specific heats. Some of you did constant specific heats here. I'm sorry, I flubbed that one up. I want to make sure that you know the difference between those two, constant and variable specific heats. And I know that I misstate those sometimes, but I think I catch myself whenever that happens. But variable means use the tables. Constant means use C sub P delta T. Then you find the pressure, and then you need to use the second law to help you find out what the entropy produced is, the sigma is. And again, some of you, if you made the mistake in problem part 1, you made the mistake in problem 2. So this problem ended up being a little bit of a bloodbath, to be quite honest. But I think I took care of that in the grading in the curve, trying to make sure that everybody was on basically the same page with their average. Problem 3, steam enters an adiabatic turbine. The keyword here is determine the maximum amount of power. When that comes out, you know that you have to look at the second law and figure out what the second law is telling you. The second law is telling you that because of that, the entropy 1 is equal to the entropy 2. And some of you just determine that just by reading it. But once you do that, you can find out all your states, and then you can quickly plug it into your equation and get what your answer is for your work per unit mass. And I'm sorry for I got asked the question on the exam, and then I totally flubbed it because I was expecting people. I just messed up there. So I think most of people caught that error, or if you did change it to kilojoules per kilogram, I was able to see your final work. This problem ended up being the easiest problem on the test anyway, so people usually did very well. What people did mess up with the TS diagrams, this one has to have constant entropy. The T, this should be V. It doesn't look good on the scan. TV diagram. You should have an increase in your specific volume. That there's just some expansion that happens there. So that needs to you need to show both of these things on the graph. And then finally we have a heat pump that's run by a heat engine, and there's just some manipulation about how to work with this. You have to work with these are considered Carnot cycles, so you have to talk about their maximum efficiencies. You have to put temperatures in Kelvin, and then you have to then go through the rigmarole and understand how the equations work together. And usually you did pretty well on this, or you made a small mathematical error on this. So the last two problems were not as difficult as the first two problems, but they did make sure you knew your stuff. And I like to give you problems that challenge you to think a little bit and not regurgitate. So, and especially when you have all sorts of resources available to you, I need to make sure you're thinking. So that's why I do push you a little bit on this. That's my philosophy, and I'll take it wherever it takes me, good or bad. But in the end, I think when we average out the exam, and I know some of you didn't do as well as you wanted to, and some of you did pretty well. I know where we are. I know who knows the stuff. I think that the grade that you got on this exam kind of represents where you're at, and the grade that you have in the class right now represents kind of where you're at. So I'm going to stick with that and go there. But I do want to talk to you about a couple other things. And by the way, the solution is available on the web, so you can look at it and have a little bit deeper dive into it. If you want to talk to me, go to my office hours 9 to 10 every morning, and we can talk about that and really get into depth with it. But I want to talk to you about the final exam. The final exam is going to be Friday, July 31st from 7 to 9. Now, it was 50-50, but people want to do it Thursday, people who want to do it Friday. But after seeing this exam, I need you to have as much practice as you can with some problems, so I need to have it on Friday. There will not be a lecture Friday morning. There will be a review Friday morning. But if I do it on Thursday, I think I'm just pushing you a little bit too fast, especially those of you who are taking 2 classes. So my goal is Friday 7 to 9. If you have an issue with that, let me know. We can talk about that. We can work out an alternative situation, but that's my plan. Friday from 7 to 9. 100 points, 4 problems, 1 problem on isotropic efficiencies, 1 problem on ideal gas mixtures, 1 problem on psychrometrics, and then 1 problem will be comprehensive. And my goal on that comprehensive problem is, if I were to ask you in October, after you're not seeing thermo for a few months, to solve a problem, and I gave you an equation sheet, I think you should be able to answer this one 100%. And if you don't, then that means that you're not at that level that I need you to be at. So this is not going to be, there's not going to be a lot of twists and turns. There should be a lot of, direct, use what's in the problem statement and put it into the solution. That's what my goal is with that. But again, you have to trust yourself. Don't trust me for anything. Study, make sure you understand the first and second laws, basically, and you should be okay with this comprehensive problem. But again, I'm saying you should be okay. Listen to yourself if you think you're okay or not. Here's what I want to talk about on the Canvas. I've posted a final exam grade calculator, a way to kind of see where you are in the class, and I'll be talking about that in just a second. Please make sure to get all homework extra credit submitted. What I mean is the alternative assignments, get those submitted. Maximum score on your homework is going to be 100%. I have added 10 bonus points to lecture quizzes. That'll make them, and your maximum there will have to be 100%, just like everything else. And I'm going to leave those 10 bonus points until the end of the week, until Thursday, and then I'll max you out at 100%. What that will do is make the average of quizzes for the class to be 80%, and that's, I think, is a reasonable thing. There's a lot of you who are doing very well on the lecture quizzes, but those of you that aren't doing well are doing very poorly. So it's kind of again a bunch of A's and a bunch of D's on the quizzes. So it's hard for me to gather what's exactly happening there. I am going to post some final exam extra credit this week, 4 extra points for you to earn, because we're not going to be resolving the final exam once you're done. Once you're done with the final exam, you're done with this class. But there will be extra credit points for doing things such as submitting a TEVAL, teacher evaluation, and those evaluations are very important to me. And I'll just make a moment here right now and talk about that. This has been an interesting class this summer, all online. I don't know any of you. This is the first time I've done this in my 10-year career at K-State, is meeting you all virtually and not having you in class. With the spring semester, I had some of you in class, and then I could know you a little bit, and then I had you online, which is a completely different situation. We've had this, we're dealing with online learning and doing things a little bit differently. There's a lot I need to learn from you, and so I hope that you have seen through what I'm doing this summer, my effort and try to do the things the best I can. I'm struggling here is just like you're struggling with being here in the COVID-19. My family, my kids, my wife, we're trying to all to do things a different way, and there's some days where I'm just on top of it, and there's some days where I'm not, and I'm learning to grow and fail on some things and be successful on some others. So I need to hear your feedback, and I encourage in your feedback to take an honest view of the class, what my goals are, what I was trying to do, and give me some honest criticism, and then give me, if you have some suggestions, provide those. I want to read those comments. Those comment sections are very important, more than in the score that you give me a 1 through 5. I want to know what your comments are. And then if you have some good things, I would love to hear the good things. That's very important for me as well. What did I succeed on? What can I build upon? Those are also important. And my department head reads all these, so it's part of my evaluation. So I encourage you to give me that feedback. That's very important to me. And I'll give you some extra credit points for that. And I'll talk to you about how I'll do that here. It'll be posted on the web when that's released. It's not released yet. I also have some other extra credit points for giving me specific feedback on specific things. I'm going to ask not just general feedback on the class, but how did lecture quizzes work, or how did lecture work, or something like that. And if you respond to these questions, whatever you say, as long as you give me a reasonable response, you will get an extra credit point. So those 5 points of extra credit are still available for the final exam. 1 for putting that cover sheet in that says you'll fill the honor code, and then these 4 extra points. Now, just letting you know where the overall class average right now is. We're at a 74.11 for the overall class average, and the median is a 72, which means half of you have above a 72 and half of you have below a 72. It's a little bit lower than it usually has been in my semesters. They're usually a tick higher than that, but they're still within the acceptable range. And just to let you know, the final exam average, whatever happens on the final exam average, I will not let the final exam average drop below a 73. Now, if it happens to be an 82, it's an 82. I don't worry about that. If it's a 78, it's a 78. I don't worry about that. But if things happen on the final exam that I just ask tough questions for some reason, and you all don't do well on it, I'm going to make sure that looking at your grade with your extra credit, I'm going to curve it up so that it's a 73 to a 75. So therefore, I don't have to do any manipulation to the end of the semester. What your grade is what your grade is. I'm going to go with that 90, 80, 70 model that I'm going to be working with. Okay, so that being said, you'll see these things, and feel free to ask me any questions that you might have on those. I want to go to the final exam grade calculator now, and this one is posted for you to look at. And what it's able for you to do, and I think it's correct, if you have any issues with that, please let me know. You should be able to enter your percentages in each section from Canvas in the purple boxes. So let's just say on a homework you have an 85% on the homework. And then on exam 1 you got here we got 57 on the first exam. I got exam 2, you got 89. Let's go here, let's say you got a 75 on exam 3, okay? So what this is going to do is it's going to calculate what your high exam credit is. Remember, you get a 2% bonus for your high exam credit. Let's say your lecture quizzes, that's a really low lecture quizzes. Let's say you got the average, 80 for lecture quizzes. So what this should show you is what Canvas, or approximately what Canvas shows you for your grade. Here the student's grade would be 75.97. Here's what you actually have with your homework your high exam credit. It'll give you a little boost. It gives you a percentage boost up there into the 76 by adding in that high exam credit. Okay, and now we go down here and we say, okay, are you eligible for an A? Remember, the top 2 scores have to have an A average for you to be eligible for an A. Well, you're not. You're not eligible for an A, but because your top 2 average is an 82, so you're eligible for a B and a C, and you also, remember, you have to have your top 3 scores above passing to be eligible to pass, and your top 3 scores are a 73, so you're eligible to pass. So you're eligible for an A, B, or C on this. Now, that doesn't mean that you can't get an A. Down here, if you're not currently eligible, what do you need to do? On the final, if you get a 91 on the final, you're eligible for an A. You get that eligibility for an A. So that final exam still calculates in for the top 2 or top 3. It's still on the docket there. So again, you have to be eligible for a score and then earn that score. So that's important for you to look at. And so this grade calculator tells you. So now, even though this person can get a 91 on the final exam to be eligible, it doesn't look like it's possible. It doesn't look like it's possible. What you need on the final exam, and what you need will recalculate the high exam credit if the final exam is higher than exam 1, 2, or 3. This person to get an A, it's out of the range. It's 139%, impossible, okay? They would have to earn a B, they'd have to get a 94 on that exam. To earn a C, they have to get a 44. So a B is still possible. A C looks like it's almost guaranteed if you put in a good effort there. So that's where we are. So again, your average that you have right now, which is a solid C, it's pretty easy to keep that solid C. To get that B, you would have to perform pretty well. Now remember, I said that if you want to forego the lecture quizzes and everything like that, just take your exam only grade. Well, we can go with your exam only grade down here. Your exam-only grade in this case would provide about the same thing. A little bit, you have to do a little bit more. So in this student's case, the traditional way of doing the grading would be better than the exam-only grades. But let's just see what would happen if you just did you did really bad on your homework and you did really bad on your lecture quizzes, like you didn't do very many lecture quizzes at all. So let's just say here, what's happening? Here we go. You did pretty bad there, but you did reasonably good on your exams. Let's move this up to a 78 here. Okay, now, if you look at what's happening, I forego all this stuff. I go down here and I just look at your lecture quizzes. Look, now, with a traditional thing, you are ineligible for a B. You can't get a B. It's just to be too high. You would have 106. To get a B with exams only, you can get a 78. So that's where I will follow the grading scale that benefits you more. Grading scale that benefits you more. Exam only or traditional. And remember, this also assumes that the most points you can get is 100% on that final exam, when you actually can get 104 because of the extra credit there. So take that into consideration. But I encourage you to use this final exam grade calculator. Come to my office hours, let's pull it up, look at it together to see what you need to be successful. There are still going to be a couple homework assignments left this semester. Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday are going to have homework assignments. And then the rest of the semester, Thursday and Friday, you're not going to have homework, of course. So there's still 3 more homeworks. There's still 4 more lecture quizzes for you to do. So all is not gone right away. So plan for that. And let's try to be successful. And then talk to me. Talk to me if you have questions about where you are and where you need to be. Okay? That kind of wraps up this summary. And if there's any questions that you might have with this, again, please come by and talk to me in my office hour. Schedule a meeting. Text me. Whatever you need to do. Get in contact with me and let's talk about it. Okay? Until then, that's it.